All right, GM, welcome to another batch analysis. I think this is week, I don't know what week this is. Who really cares? Let me check. This is week 25. So, this week I don't have too many trades, so I think this is going to be relatively short. I got 5 trades over here, which is very nice, and I'm going to get to that. So, let me open everything up the way that needs to be. Okay. And I think I also want to go to my forward test over here because I think I didn't fill this out yet, right? So yeah, I had 5 BEs, so I'm just gonna fill that out real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. And that also means that I'm gonna have some commissions here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's -1 in commissions. Just gonna fill that out real quick. Boop. All right, there we go. Now it's going to be represented correctly. And as you can see, the drawdown continues, -37. Not very happy about that, but hey, what can you do? And the drawdown, when did it really start? Like here, right? Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot see the date because I'm not really filling that out. I'm just doing this for the curves. Just doing this for the curves. That sounds kind of funny. But yeah, anyway, let's just get into the trades, man. That's going to be the easiest thing. So this week I did not have many trades. I had most of my trades are on June 16th. What day was that? June 16th. That was a Monday. Okay, and I have 4 trades on Euro USD, and then I have 1 trade on silver on Tuesday. So let's take a look at that. So first thing, a break even on Euro USD. Actually, before I get into this, let's, as always, take a look at what happened last week. So last week, I mostly traded good momentum and really good DMBs. But what went wrong is I got baited into trading something I wasn't supposed to, the JER30 shorts. Yeah, I remember that quite clearly. Uh, I repeated this to myself many, many times throughout this week to make sure to not do this mistake again. Not only were the shorts too early, they were also in a stage 1 on the context time frame. And overall, like there were 3 mistakes in a row. First, it was too early to trade in that given direction. Second, it was in a stage 1. And third, it was because I started trading this because somebody else traded it, and that's never, never, ever a good reason. So that was horrible. Here I traded some stage 1 bad context. Yep, I remember that. That's the JER30s. Took an invalid MB2, no lower high. Yeah, I remember that one. That was just an unfortunate little error. And I took one giga ugly entry. That was this one, and that was because I got emotional. I remember that as well. So overall, -5R instead of -1.4. Yeah, that was bad. Not too happy. Like the week before was really nice. This week, not too good. I need to slowly but surely iron out all of these little mistakes, especially on the lower time frame, because I cannot allow myself to make these. That's simply impossible. So good thing I'm still on forward test. But overall, I feel like I'm getting better. I'm definitely getting better. So this week, I rewrote this. Number one focus, mind your own business. Yes. I have my system. I trust my system. I believe in it. There's absolutely no need to pay attention to what anybody else is doing. Do not trade stage 1 on C. This showed up many, many times here already. Like this is a big one. I need to stick to this. Like sometimes I can wait for a trade to manifest for so long, and I'm like doing well with the patience, but eventually my patience just runs out and I do something stupid. I need to get better at this. If a trade is not there, it's not there. That's it. Track markets well, yes, that's very important. If I have some markets setting up, especially in this current environment, it's very rare to get good momentum that has follow through. I need to track them, otherwise I miss good trades. Use alerts, trade strong stage twos, and do not hesitate. Yep, yep. Okay, makes sense. So let's take a look. First trade on Monday, Euro USD. What do we have? So based on the EMAs here, we can see that there was some ongoing uptrend, right? Which sets me into a bullish bias overall. This is a 4-hour. Normally I look at the 1-hour. I forgot to switch, but it doesn't really matter. The 4-hour just gives us a slightly more zoomed out view. And here we can see there was probably some kind of stage 1 happening either here, or you could even go as far as saying over here. Either way, I only, well, yeah, I already traded all the way here, here. Like, these are good places to trade. And here, most recently, this is important. Most recently, we have this stage 1 and a big, big impulse out of it and a pullback to the rising 1020 EMA. This is looking very good. On the 6-minute, I should probably see some kind of stage 1 here and a breakout out of it. So let's take a look. Here's a 6-minute, right? Here it's really ugly chopping, chopping, chopping. That's probably the stage 1 over here. And then eventually it breaks out on huge momentum, pulls back. Yeah, here it pulls back a little bit too much, but then immediately like has huge momentum come in. This is probably MMB2, so this would be MMB1, MMB2, and now we are moving higher. So by no means is this overextended. This can go way higher, in my opinion. So here on the 1-minute, what do we have? We have big momentum that starts reaccumulating. I remember I was already looking for a trade over here, but I didn't get anything, and then it breaks out again and pulls back to the rising 1020, exactly where I want to trade. So if we take a look at the 10-second on my entry time frame, what's very important here for me, as always, is this stage 2. Is it impulsive and strong enough? And in this case, I would say yes, it is. Lots of small little yellow boxes over here, which represent inefficiency. Whenever, like, in order for inefficiency to be created in the first time, we need big chunky candles that don't come back to mitigate, right? That's the important part. This looks like it's accelerating away from the EMAs. That's another perspective how I look at strength overall. And generally, I would say this stage 2 is very strong. And if it pulls back, if it loses its momentum cycle and sets up a double MB, my expectation, of course, is continuation. And here it pulls back perfectly, right? Creates MB1, strong MB1 validation, and a proportional similar size MB2. This looks amazing. This is, in my opinion, a very, very nice entry. This is exactly the type of entry that tends to work for me. So I get in, and here it starts chopping, chopping, chopping. Here is pretty much, after this, it's pretty much like the last point where I want to see it go. And here it broke down. Maybe I should have already gotten out here. I'm still not completely sure about how to approach these BEs from below, is what I call them. BE from below simply means that after a while, when it's not doing what I want it to do, I should just close the trade. And after it broke down over here, that is pretty much when I set my TP to 0. And I was hoping that I'm going to get out for a break even. And I do. It taps me out. This is where I get out, and I get a break even. So overall, I think this was a very nice trade. So let's label it up real quick. So this is very good momentum. And a trending market, of course. That's very important. It's good momentum in a trending market. This is good momentum as well. By no means overextended. This is good momentum as well. And this is, I would say, a perfect DMB. Perfect entry. So overall, I would say this was a perfect trade. Actually, let me do it like this. Too lazy for that. All right, perfect trade. Let me label that up in my Notion. Management-wise, it was perfect. Yep, that's when I got out of for a BE, so that deserves a perfect. Nice. That's exactly what I want to see. So, continuing on, I trade EU again. So, let's take a look what changed here on the 6-minute, for example. So, on the 6-minute here, we just got up. Actually, let's stick to the 1-minute. I think that's going to be nicer. So here, this is where I took my trade, right, with the expectation that it's going to continue, but it didn't. Instead, it pulls back into the rising 1020 EMA, What's this? Is this a 1 minute entry? Oh yeah, yeah, it is, it is. So here, yeah, I see. So the 1 minute breaks down and creates an MB1 that is somewhat below. Honestly, I would like to see a deeper flush here. I would like to see a deeper flush. This flush seems a little bit too shallow compared to like the entry over here, right? This is like a clear flush below. But yeah, whatever. And here, that's a very strong MB1 validation. I do like that. And this is a similarly sized MB2. So in that regard, it looks pretty good, I would say. So, and the stage 2 over here looks okay. Yeah, big chunky candles. Then it starts distributing here a little bit, like chopping. That's kind of normal. Whenever it reaches some kind of top, then before the breakdown, it chops a little bit. And here, like, this is good. This is good. So overall, I think this is a good entry. One thing that I would prefer is if this was a little bit lower. That would be perfect. So I'm just going to call it a good entry. It's not necessarily perfect. But yeah, anyway, on the 10-second, the 10-second doesn't matter here. So what happens over here? I get tapped in, I think, pretty much here. And it starts chopping, chopping, chopping. And what do I do here? I think I take a BE from below. Let's take a look if I can see it here. Yeah, so after it starts chopping here a little bit, that's when I get out for a break even. It's a little bit of a weird trade, I would say. I don't know, man. It's a little bit weird. I mean, it does make total sense. I would love to see the MB1 go a little bit deeper. This does seem a little bit choppy. I don't know, something I can't quite figure it out, but there's something about it that I don't like too much. Yeah. Especially like the combo of market like liquidating this point and then going down. Like whenever this happens, okay, whenever it liquidates and continues lower, the instant expectation for me is that the market is going to seek liquidity on the downside. Okay, so here it did liquidate something. I bet I did pay attention to that back then. But ah, I don't know. I don't like this trade too much. I'm gonna call it good, but it was definitely not perfect. Anyway, there's good momentum on these time frames, definitely. The 1 minute entry over here, I'm gonna call it a good entry. Actually, I'm gonna call it questionable. I'm gonna call it a questionable entry, but I'm not necessarily gonna call this whole thing a mistake. I'm just gonna call it good. And I need to pay a little bit more attention to this. Like, if I continue taking this kind of trade for 1,000 times, is it gonna be good or not? I honestly think it's good. Yeah, I think I should be taking these kind of trades. I want to take these kind of trades, but mm, yeah, this would be nicer. So I'm gonna add this comment here. MB1 seems a little bit too shallow. Yeah. So context was good, 6 minute was good, and the 1 minute entry was a little bit questionable. Management definitely good. I got out from below, which is nice after a certain amount of time. How much time did I give it here? So here it didn't even lose its 10 and 20. But oh yeah, I remember. The reason for this is that after a while, like if you take a look, after a while these MBs are no longer proportional, right? This is the MB, so I would expect a similarly sized MB here. And pretty much like after it goes for longer than that, I'm just like, okay, this is already choppy, so I want nothing to do with this, and I get out. So that was definitely a good decision. So management wise, it was perfect. Overall, I'm gonna call it good. And here I'm just gonna say questionable entry. Okay. So that's that. Moving on to the next trade. That's once again EU. So what happens? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Is this on the same day? Yes, it is. Yes, it's on the same day. Okay, nice. So on the 6 minute, previously, let me see. Previously, we were over here, and that's pretty much over here. And price starts chopping, right? I pretty much lose all of my interest. Like maybe I start looking here for a while, but the moment it dumps, that's it. This entire range for me, I assume chop. It invalidates everything, and I'm disqualified from trading this. So now what I'm waiting for is a break higher above this point in order to follow with the expectation that there's going to be a new momentum cycle, right? So that's exactly what happens over here. Huge, huge momentum, right? Some kind of stage one over here. Then we have MMB1 and currently sitting in MMB2. So if we take a look at the 10-second, we can see huge, huge momentum, strong stage two, very nice. Here it flushes out, and now we are waiting for the DMB setup. So let me see how this MB looked like. I would say this was probably DMB. I wish I could set up a template here so this is always white and always like this. That would be very nice. I don't know if I can do that in Miro, but whatever. So, boop, that's it. Let's copy paste it, and here, this should be the MB2. So, MB1 validation definitely strong, similarly sized, goes above the EMAs rising. I would say this is a very nice trade. This is amazing. And what does it do? It goes over here, then it pulls back quite deeply, and the moment it breaks this, I pretty much go risk-free, I believe, right? So yes, that's exactly what I do. I go risk-free on this candle over here, and that's the highest candle it goes to, and then it taps me out for a break even. So I think that was very, very nice overall. So here, what do we have? Is this, how does it look on the 4 hours? So 4 hour, this is this. Uh, oh, here I'm on the 60-minute already. Okay, okay, I see, I see. So on the 60-minute, we can see what? On the 60-minute, we have a strong push over here that breaks down. I immediately assume there's going to be some kind of stage one, right? That breaks out here, creates a beautiful MMB, which is this 6-minute structure over here, and then breaks higher. Yes, this is looking very, very nice. So I assume there's going to be a new momentum cycle. Yep, very, very good. So that's good momentum over here. Very good momentum over here. Bruh. Okay, very good momentum over here. On the 1 minute as well. All on good momentum. That's exactly how I want my trades to look like. And the entry itself was, I think, perfect. Perfect entry. So overall, I think this was a perfect trade. That's exactly the type of trade that I want to trade. It's on big momentum on all of my time frames. Everything is trending. Everything is breaking higher. That's exactly where I assume continuations and where I want to be. Part of the market, part of the move. Okay, so good context here, good momentum, good entry. Management-wise, yeah, already talked about that. Perfect, so that deserves a perfect. Very nice. Moving on, last trade on EU. So let's see what has changed. So here we are on the 6-minute. On the 6-minute, it looks like we just got a little bit higher. So let's take a look at the 1 minute. So previously on the 1 minute, what has happened? Let me see. I think we're exactly in the same area. Yeah, we can see that on the 10-second. We're exactly in the same area here. Previously, I took this trade over here. That ended up not working and continued chopping. So eventually, after that happened, I drew my diagonal. And I was like, okay, as long as we don't lose the 1 minute rising EMAs and we have an active momentum cycle, if I can get an MB1 and a strong validation and an MB2 that breaks out of this containment line and is formed basically with all the other rules above the rising EMAs in similar size, I can take it. So let's take a look what happened over here. I would say that pretty much pretty much this whole thing over here is DMB. Yep, that looks pretty good. So let's take a look if that is similar size. It most certainly is. The validation itself, let me see. The validation itself is pretty good. There's quite a lot of momentum here, inefficiency left behind. That's kind of nice. It breaks above the containment line. It's above the EMAs. Yeah, I think this looks very, very good overall. Yep, that's a good entry. So what happens over here, it taps me in. Let's see over here. Taps me in. I reduce risk very soon, pretty much on this candle over here. That's already quite far. And okay, here I write it twice, but EU, there's really no need to reduce risk twice on a one tick spread. But whatever, that's how I would normally do it. And it starts going in my direction, and I remember I was already a little bit excited, and I was like, yo, is this finally a win? Did I catch it? But no, there's no juice left, and it comes back to break even. But yeah, I think this was also a very nice trade. So good momentum, good momentum, good momentum. Definitely on all three of these time frames. Just copy that. Yep. And the entry, I think, was also perfect, resulting in another perfect trade. Cool. Let me label that up. Beautiful. All perfect. And last trade of the week was a trade on silver. So after that, I guess EU just started chopping or some stuff. I remember like this week overall, price action was just horrible, man. Like everything is kind of stuck in some kind of stage one, or it's choppy as fuck. Like nothing is really moving with clear momentum. I mean, this move on EU was very nice. That's why I followed it, and I really don't mind getting trades on it, even if I ended up having a -4, let's say. That would still be okay, I believe, because I did follow momentum the way that I'm supposed to. I did follow my rules. I know that if markets want to move, this is what allows me to capture those moves if they deliver. And it would just so happen that they don't deliver, and that's okay. I ended up with break evens. I'm very happy for that, but most importantly, I followed rules. That's what I want to evaluate myself on. So that was good. And then later on, so when is this taken? On June 17th? Is that Tuesday? Let me see. June 17th. Yep, that's a Tuesday. And since this trade, there was absolutely nothing. I woke up every day to check at 9 a.m. if there's anything to trade, and there was nothing. So I could just go back to bed. Anyway, let's take a look at silver over here. So silver, on the 60-minute, we can see a strong trend over here that eventually breaks down. I instantly assume there's going to be some kind of stage one. Sure enough, stage one is over here. I don't trade anything in here. I'm not interested because I don't care what forms here, what kind of momentum comes in or whatever. I always want to see a stage one form. So until I see that stage one and a breakout out of it, I'm not interested. This can do whatever it wants to. It's not part of my system. It's not something that I follow. But once it forms something, like once I can see, okay, there's some resistance here, some resistance here and here, I already know, oh, this is cool. So this is my stage one. And if it breaks out, that's when I'm going to start following, right? And here it breaks out on very, very strong momentum into a completely new high. It kind of sucks because usually, like, I like to get trades in here, right? This is a beautiful area to get trades in, but this catapulted itself higher through this. And I assumed, okay, like when it comes to these super strong moves, very often what happens is it's just one big move and then it dies off again. But it also sometimes happens that there is continuation. So I wanted to try the continuation and see what happens. So here on the 1 minute, what we can see is a big, fat, strong stage two that starts going sideways, right? Loses its momentum cycle somewhere over here. Is this a 1 minute entry? Oh, it's a 1 minute entry. Okay, I see. So here what I'm arguing is that this is pulling back and creating an MMB. Yep, that's completely valid to around the rising 1020 or slightly above. This is completely fine. If there was a 5, it would probably be somewhere over here. And here, if I get a DMB, I should be valid to trade it. So what do I have here? This is the last move down. That would be the high of my MB. So this is the MB1, strong MB1 validation, very strong, big, chunky candles, and then a proportional MB2. So I think this looks pretty good. So let's take a look at what happened. I can see that here. So on this candle, I reduce my risk. And here it pulls back a little bit, and as it goes higher and as it liquidates this high, that's when I reduce risk completely, because you can see there is still a difference between the intended entry and the entry with like slippage, spread, blah, 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 right? So I reduce risk twice, and sure enough, that liquidates the high and comes and gets me and liquidates me. So I think that was good. I think that was very good. I followed my rules perfectly here, and that's the most important thing. So this was very good momentum, and it was a stage 1 breakout. Okay, this was very good momentum as well. And this 1 minute entry, I think this 1 minute entry was very good as well. I would say that was a perfect entry. It's a little bit different. I'm going to call it good. It's not perfect. It's a little bit different from the usual like momentous entries that I get, where it goes like much lower, sets up over here, right? And then goes like this. It's a little bit different from that. Those are the entries that I like the most, but this is still completely valid. So overall, I'm not sure if I should call this perfect. I'm going to call it good. I'm going to call it good. Okay. Good entry. Management was perfect. So this is a good trade. Okay. And that's all for this week. So let's copy this over as always. And once again, I feel like this is so squished. What the hell? Let me move it a little bit. Need a bit more distance here. Okay, cool. So what went well? Followed my rules well. That's the most important thing. I followed my rules well. All of these were either perfect or good, which means that I didn't make any significant mistakes here. Very patient. I didn't trade anything I wasn't supposed to. That's good. Minded my own business. I saw a lot of people taking a lot of different trades in Trade Talk. It didn't even faze me. I was pretty harsh with myself last week. I was like, hey, this kind of mistake, I cannot repeat that. Like, no fucking way. I need to learn my lesson. If I continue doing that, I'm just a silly goose. So I think I really gave myself enough instruction, and I'm serious and responsible enough to not do this again. So hopefully that's going to apply for the future as well. So this went well. Let's take a look, as always, on the places where I traded. So on the contexts, right? Big previous move, reaccumulation, continuation. This looks very good. Big previous move, reaccumulation, continuation. Looks very good. Same here. Well, yeah, this is all the same context. So that was good. On the V, what we can see, big strong momentum and moving higher. Big strong momentum moving higher. Big previous move, reaccumulation, continuation. Big move, reaccumulation, continuation. Big move, slight pullback, that's an MMB, continuation. Here we have an entry, big previous stage 2, loses its momentum cycle for a short time, or like starts going sideways, and continuation. That's where I take my DMB. Perfect. Here, this is a V still, that's not an entry. Big stage 2, pulls back into rising 1020. Perfect. Here, big strong momentum. I should have zoomed into this a little bit more, but that's okay. Big strong momentum pulls back into rising 1020. Perfect. Here, this is an entry. Yeah, this is the only entry that I don't like too much. Like, even when it comes to analyzing the stage 2, this one is a little bit weak. Like, this stage 2 is not the strongest. I'm also going to include that here. Weak stage 2. So maybe, like, this is a bit of an edge case, but maybe I could actually call this a mistake. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to call this a mistake. Fuck it. And that's, I think it's this one. So instead of good, I'm going to call it a mistake because it's a questionable entry. Questionable entry, why? I must have weak stage 2 here, right? No, I don't. Weak stage 2. Boom. Yep, let's do it like that. So ideally, I would trade stronger stage 2s, of course. Moving on, I think I need to go higher. This entry, yeah, that was beautiful. The DMBs overall were really nice. Like, these DMBs all make sense. This makes sense as well. This makes sense as well. Yeah, there's just one little mistake, which I'm going to include here. One questionable entry. A bit weak stage 2. And like, the DMB was a bit questionable too. Okay. So results overall are what? Results overall, if I go into my analysis now. So this was week 25, right? So let's change this to 25. Boop. So results overall are -1. 5 times commissions, basically. And result, if I filtered out all of the mistakes, well, that would be -0.8 then. So yeah, that's it. One trade that I would label as mistake. What led into this? Like, did I maybe chase or something? Like, what happened over here? Mm, mm. I'm not quite sure what happened over here, but yeah, this trade is the only one that I would like to have traded a little bit better. So let me just take a screenshot of this and also include it here in what went bad. I'm gonna put it, let's say, over here. Oops. Yep, that's a nice place for it. So yeah, stage 2 a little bit weak, and DMB not perfect. Ideally, it would come lower. Oops. Yeah, actually, I cannot do that. Okay. So yeah, that's all this week. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I didn't take anything I wasn't supposed to. I followed markets when they were meant to be followed, when there was some kind of momentum, and I sit out everything that I was supposed to sit out. Overall, very, very happy. One last thing, is there anything that I drew for myself this week? Nah, just this. Just this. I did some testing this week on NVIDIA on higher time frame entries, 1 hour. And what I have noticed that tends to work really, really well in these like trending delivering markets is that when there is some kind of ongoing trend, right, and there is a break higher, very often when it comes back to the demand zone and from there sets up the DMB, those setups tend to work really, really well. And yeah, I'm paying attention to that. I'm drawing in these demand zones on my V's and C's just so I can better navigate my market. And also I started drawing in these demands just to see like where demand is and where reaccumulation can be expected. That goes hand in hand with this whole understanding of when does a trend actually reverse completely, and that's pretty nice. It goes also like this is the understanding of what we already had with MentFX previously when we were trading S&D zones, and we don't necessarily do that anymore. But I used to live, or I used to believe that if a market pulls back more than a shallow pullback, which means that this would be disqualified. I no longer do that. I think as long as the markets are holding their demand zones, and even if they break below a little bit for reaccumulation purposes, the moment new momentum comes in, it's still completely valid to trade in the direction of the trend. So that's just a tiny little thing that I drew in for myself to solidify my understanding a little bit more. But overall, I think my understanding is already completely fine. I believe in my system. I'm whatever it is that I'm trading, it's my personalized system that makes total sense to me, and I'm happy with it. Now it's just gonna be about being patient and waiting for the markets to actually start creating moves and start having continuous demand come in, which is something we haven't really seen in these last 6, 7, 8 weeks. But once that's gonna start happening, I know that my rules are going to get me into those moves, and that's what's important. That's when I'm going to start making my profit. So all of this, as always, just very, very valuable experience, trying to maximize experience, as Anton always says. I'm not going to touch my challenge just yet. I want to get myself out of this drawdown. Like, as you can see, the drawdown is currently quite big. Unfortunately, I got myself into a pretty bad situation in these last 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it is, because I continued trading even though I wasn't really supposed to, and I also made a change in my entry criteria, which led to a -10 week, which was absolutely horrible. So lots of mistakes were made in this drawdown, and if I didn't make them, this curve would look differently. Yeah, it would still be in drawdown. It would be sideways a little bit down, but it wouldn't have such a steep angle down. So this this period has really shown me where my system was lacking a little bit and where I was making mistakes. So I'm very, very grateful that this has happened during my forward test because it allowed me to learn, it allowed me to gather the experience that I needed. Because these kind of things, these kind of situations will most definitely come again. Like, I expect myself to trade in the upcoming decade, in the upcoming 10 years. There's definitely going to be dry periods there again. And now I'm actually going to know what that is like. And my system is going to be ready for it. And I'm not going to blow my account just because I continue trading when the setups are no longer there. So, all very good. I'm happy with it. Of course, I would be happier to see this going up, but I should not focus on results. I really just want to focus on the process. And the process in the forward test is to learn how to stick to my rules. That is the number one thing that forward testing is for. And that's also one of the most important skills that a trader must have. A trader must have the skill to stick to their rules. Once you have that, you can set up the rules to be whatever you want, and you know you will be able to follow it and not take anything outside of the rule set. And once I have that, even if my setup stops working, I can just go back to backtesting and figure out a new system, a new strategy, so to say, and I can basically immediately implement it afterwards because I no longer have to train myself to be able to stick to those new rules. That's a skill set that I will already possess at that time, and that is huge. That is what this forward testing is for. And until I get myself out of this drawdown, that's what I'm going to continue honing and improving on. And once I get out of this drawdown, I'm going to feel confident enough to go back to my challenge, my funding evaluation. So yeah, that's that. As always, if any of this sparked some thoughts in you, shoot me a DM. I always love to discuss trading, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.